My beloved child, stop for a moment. Do not scroll past this. Do not dismiss this as just another message. I have drawn you here with intention, and you must hear me now. Time, as you understand it, feels ordinary. But in the unseen realm, something is shifting. The window you have been standing before is not going to remain open forever. This is not to frighten you. That is to awaken you. You were warned to open this, and deep within your spirit, you felt it. That quiet pull, that nudge you could not explain, that sense that this message carried weight. That was not coincidence. That was me. Time is almost gone, not for your destiny, not for my promises, but for hesitation, for doubt, for the constant second-guessing that has kept you standing still while your heart longs to move forward. The season of circling the same mountain is ending. The excuses you have rehearsed are losing their grit. The fear that whispered, "Wait a little longer," is about to lose its voice. Listen closely, my beloved child. What I am about to unfold cannot be grasped by distracted ears. Stay with me. Let these words settle deeply into you. This is not background noise. This is a divine interruption. You have been sensing urgency without understanding it. A restlessness you tried to ignore. A feeling that something is closing in, not to crush you, but to press you into decision. You thought it was anxiety. You thought it was pressure from the world. But it was me stirring you, reminding you that delay has an expiration date. There are moments in your life that define entire chapters. Moments where one act of obedience unlocks what years of waiting prepared you for. You are standing at such a moment now. And if you turn away too quickly, if you allow distraction to steal this clarity, you may prolong what was meant to conclude. I am not rushing you in panic. I am calling you in precision. You have asked me for change. You have prayed for movement. You have whispered in the quiet of night, "Father, when will it be my time?" And now I answer you with tenderness and firmness. Your time requires your attention. It requires your awareness. It requires your courage to respond. Do not treat this as casual. Lean in. Let your heart quiet itself. Let the noise fall away. What I reveal next will uncover why the pressure increased, why the signs became stronger, why the warnings grew clearer. This is not the end of your opportunity. It is the end of your delay. Stay with me, my beloved child. Do not walk away now. What you are about to understand will change how you see this very moment, and once you see it, you will never return to who you were before. My beloved child, now let me speak to you more closely. There are many who will hear words today, but this moment, this stirring in your chest, this tightening in your spirit, is not for everyone. It is for you. Yes, you. The one who almost ignored this. The one who hesitated before opening it. The one who thought, maybe later. Yet you are still here. That is not random. You were drawn here because I have been drawing you for some time now. I have been whispering through circumstances, through subtle convictions, through the quiet unrest that would not let you settle. I have been narrowing the noise around you so that my voice could reach you clearly. And now you are listening. Do not think this message found you by accident. I am intentional with my children. I do not scatter words carelessly into the wind. When I call your attention, it is because I am positioning you. When I press on your heart, it is because something within you is ready to respond. You are not overlooked. You are not lost in a crowd. I know your patterns. I know your fears. I know the moments you shrink back just before breakthrough. And I say this with deep tenderness. I am speaking directly to that place inside you. You have felt as if time was slipping away from you, as if opportunities were passing, as if others were accelerating while you stood still. But what you did not see is that I was refining your focus. I was strengthening your inner foundation so that when movement came, you would not collapse under its weight. My beloved child, I am not a distant ruler shouting commands from the sky. I am your father. I guide you with care. I correct your path without humiliating you. I call you forward without condemning you for where you have been. This is why you feel both urgency and safety at the same time. The urgency is real. The safety is deeper. You were warned to open this because your spirit recognized my voice. Even if your mind questioned it, your heart knew. There is a difference between curiosity and calling. Curiosity fades quickly. Calling holds you still until you listen. And you are still here because something within you knows that this matters. If these words are already settling into your spirit, if you feel that quiet confirmation rising inside you, then honor that stirring. Bless this message with a like, not for approval, but as an act of agreement. Share this with someone whose heart has also been restless, someone who needs to know that their delay is not their denial. And remain connected here. Subscribe so you do not miss the reminders I send to steady you in moments of uncertainty. When you do this, you are not promoting a video. You are helping my encouragement reach hearts that are quietly asking for help. My beloved child, I am narrowing this message further. You have been standing at the edge of a decision. Not always a loud decision, not always dramatic, but a shift in posture. A choice to trust more deeply. A choice to move when I say move. A choice to release what you have been gripping out of fear. You have waited for a perfect sign. You have asked for clarity so obvious that doubt would not survive it. And yet here you are, sensing that clarity is arriving not as fireworks, but as conviction. This is how I often move with you. Not through spectacle, but through certainty that grows steadily inside your spirit. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. And you are certainly not disqualified. I have been shaping you quietly for what is ahead. I have been aligning pieces you could not see. And now I am calling your attention because the next step requires your willingness. Stay with me, my beloved child. Let the walls of distraction fall away. I am about to show you what this urgency truly means, and why the time that feels almost gone is not your opportunity disappearing, but your preparation reaching completion. My beloved child, I see what you have not said out loud. You have carried a quiet exhaustion that no one else fully understands. Not the kind that sleep fixes, not the kind that a day off erases. It is the exhaustion of waiting while trying to stay hopeful. The fatigue of holding faith in one hand while disappointment presses against the other. You have smiled when asked if you are fine. You have nodded when others assumed you were strong. But inside you have whispered to me, Father, how much longer? I heard you. I saw the moments when you questioned yourself after another delay. When you replayed decisions in your mind, wondering if you made a wrong turn somewhere. When you compared your timeline to someone else's and felt the sting of being behind. You tried to silence that comparison, but it crept back in the quiet hours and told you that you were late, that you missed something, that time was slipping beyond your reach. My beloved child, I know about the hidden tears, the ones that never reached public view, the tears that fell not because you stopped believing in me, but because you were tired of believing without seeing. You remained faithful outwardly, but inwardly you wrestled with confusion. You asked me questions you were almost afraid to admit. Why does it feel like you are silent? Why does it seem like others move forward while I remain still? Did I misunderstand your direction? You did not ask these questions with rebellion. You asked them with sincerity. You asked them because you care deeply about your purpose. You asked them because you did not want to miss what I had for you. There were nights when you lay awake, your mind circling the same concerns. You tried to pray, but words felt heavy. You tried to rest, but thoughts kept rising. You wondered if the urgency you felt was a warning that you were falling behind. You wondered if the silence meant I had stepped back. I did not step back. Even in what felt like distance, I was near. Even in what felt like stillness, I was working. But I know it did not always feel that way to you. It felt like being overlooked, like watching doors open for others while yours remained closed, like sending out effort and receiving little return. You have also battled frustration with yourself. You told yourself to be stronger, to be more patient, to trust without wavering. And when you felt a crack in your confidence, you quietly judged yourself for it. You thought true faith meant never feeling tired, never feeling confused. But my beloved child, faith under pressure often trembles before it stands taller. You have been carrying more internally than anyone around you realizes. You have been navigating responsibilities, expectations, and private doubts all at once. And yet you kept going. Even when enthusiasm faded, you showed up. Even when clarity dimmed, you remained present. I want you to hear this clearly. Your weariness does not disappoint me. Your questions do not push me away. Your moments of frustration do not disqualify you. I know the weight of anticipation you have been holding. I know how it feels to sense that something is coming but not see it materialize. That tension has stretched you. It has made you question whether the urgency you feel is a warning of loss or a signal of change. It is not loss, my beloved child. What you have been feeling is the strain of growth beneath the surface. Growth often feels like pressure before it feels like progress. And you have been in that pressure for longer than you expected. But do not mistake pressure for abandonment. I have watched every silent prayer. I have counted every restrained reaction. I have seen every moment you chose integrity over impulse, even when no one applauded you for it. You may feel tired, but you are not unseen. You may feel uncertain, but you are not forgotten. Stay with me. The questions that have lingered in your heart deserve answers, and I am about to bring light to the confusion that has been quietly surrounding you. My beloved child, as you remain with me and allow my light to answer the questions in your heart, understand this. Time is almost gone, not in fear, but in opportunity. There are other weary hearts whispering, "Father, how much longer?" And I am sending this word as oil for their lamps before the night deepens. When you give through Super Thanks membership, with a PayPal link in the description, you are not funding a channel. You are sowing seed into soil that is ready for harvest. Did I not say, "Cast your bread upon the waters, and it will return to you"? I speak that over you now. The river of this message must keep flowing, and I am inviting you to become a keeper of the flame. If your heart has burned while listening, that stirring is my spirit prompting you to act. What you release in faith, I will multiply in provision, in protection, and in peace. This is a divine appointment, not a suggestion. So now, support now, and watch me breathe increase over what you place in my hands. My beloved child, let us bring into the light the questions you have been carrying in silence. You have asked me, did I miss my moment? You have replayed past decisions in your mind, tracing them back as if searching for a single misstep that shifted your entire timeline. You wondered if hesitation cost you something permanent. You wondered if fear delayed you too long. And in your quiet reflections you asked the question that weighed the heaviest: was I too late? You have watched others step into opportunities that looked like the very things you prayed for. You have seen doors open for them while yours seemed firmly shut. And though you tried to celebrate them, a small voice inside you whispered, "Why not me?" You felt guilty for even thinking it, but the thought still rose. You questioned my timing. You questioned whether I was asking you to wait, or whether you misunderstood my instruction altogether. There were moments when you felt caught between moving too soon and waiting too long. You did not want to run ahead of me, but you also feared standing still while life moved forward without you. This tension has been exhausting. You have also wrestled with perceived injustice. You have seen people advance through shortcuts you refused to take. You watched compromise rewarded while your integrity seemed unnoticed. You asked, quietly and honestly, does doing the right thing still matter? Not because you wanted to do wrong, but because you wanted reassurance that your obedience was not in vain. There were times when faith and frustration lived side by side within you. You believed in my promises, yet you struggled with the pace. You trusted my heart, yet you questioned my timing. You declared hope outwardly, yet inwardly you battled doubt that crept in when nothing visibly changed. You wondered if my silence meant disapproval. You wondered if closed doors meant rejection. You wondered if the urgency you felt was a warning that something precious was slipping through your fingers. My beloved child, I heard every one of those questions, even the ones you did not fully form into words. You asked, "Father, if this is preparation, why does it feel like delay?" You asked, "If I am chosen, why do I feel overlooked?" You asked, "If you are near, why does this season feel so quiet?" And beneath all those questions was a deeper one. Can I still trust that you are guiding me? These questions were not signs of weak faith. They were signs of a heart that longs for alignment. They revealed your desire to move with me, not ahead of me, not behind me. You were not rebelling. You were searching for clarity. But confusion has a way of magnifying time. When you do not understand the process, every day feels longer. Every delay feels louder. Every unanswered prayer echoes more sharply. You began to measure your life against invisible deadlines. You felt pressure building, as if a clock were ticking somewhere you could not see. And because you could not see it, you feared it was counting down against you. My beloved child, the tension you have felt was not evidence that you missed your opportunity. It was evidence that something within you was awakening. You sensed movement before you saw it. You felt transition before it became visible. But without explanation, that sensation felt like danger instead of destiny. You thought the urgency meant loss. You thought the warning meant punishment. You thought the silence meant distance. And now, as you listen, I am gently untangling those thoughts. The questions that lingered were leading you somewhere. They were not meant to trap you in doubt. They were preparing your heart to understand what I am about to reveal. Stay with me, my beloved child. The answers you have longed for are not wrapped in condemnation. They are wrapped in perspective. And once you see what I have been doing beneath the surface of your waiting, the urgency you feel will no longer frighten you. It will steady you. My beloved child, breathe with me now. Let your shoulders soften. Let the tension in your thoughts settle. You have carried questions long enough, and I will not leave them unanswered. Clarity is coming. Not all at once, not in a rush of overwhelming detail, but in layers. I do not reveal everything in a single glance, because your heart absorbs truth best when it unfolds gently. What felt confusing will begin to align. What felt scattered will begin to make sense. and what felt like delay will reveal itself as design. You have been looking at your life from ground level, surrounded by circumstances, measuring progress by visible movement. But I see from above. I see intersections you cannot see yet. I see timing that protects you from collisions you did not know were ahead. I see connections forming that require precise alignment. There is a perspective hidden from you, not to tease you, not to withhold from you, but to protect the integrity of your becoming. If I had shown you the full picture too soon, you might have rushed. If I had explained every closed door, you might have tried to force one open. If I had revealed every outcome, you might have focused on performance instead of growth. My beloved child, there are seasons where understanding must follow obedience, not precede it. I know you prefer clarity before commitment. You prefer assurance before action. That is natural. But there are times when trust is strengthened in the absence of full explanation. And this has been one of those times. You thought the silence meant inactivity. It did not. It meant construction beneath the surface. You thought the stillness meant stagnation. It did not. It meant foundation work that required quiet. The deepest shifts in your life have not been loud. They have been steady, invisible, internal. And now, because you have endured this quiet shaping, you are ready to see differently. I am about to reframe what you believed was slipping away. The urgency you feel is not the sound of opportunity closing. It is the signal that preparation is nearing completion. The warning you sensed was not a threat. It was a summons, a call to attention, a reminder that your next step requires alertness. But listen carefully. Revelation does not rush you into panic. It steadies you into readiness. You have feared that time was working against you. You felt as though the clock was counting down your chances. Yet what you could not see is that the timing has been working for you. Each delay carved out space for deeper resilience. Each unanswered prayer strengthened muscles of trust you did not know you would need. There is hidden perspective in your waiting. Some doors closed because they were aligned with an older version of you. Some opportunities faded because they matched a capacity you have now outgrown. Some relationships shifted because your growth required different surroundings. If those doors had remained open, you would have stepped into spaces too small for who you are becoming. You see loss. I see protection. You see delay. I see alignment. You see silence. I see strategy. And now I am preparing your heart to understand this without bitterness. I am slowing your pace so that when the next movement comes, you will recognize it not as pressure, but as confirmation. Stay attentive, my beloved child. Do not rush ahead trying to guess what I will say next. Let the unfolding happen. Let your heart adjust to the idea that nothing was wasted. Not a single tear. Not a single restrained reaction. Not a single lonely night. Revelation is not merely information. It is transformation of perspective. And when you fully grasp what this season truly was, the fear that time is almost gone will dissolve. In its place, you will feel something steadier, something stronger. You will feel readiness. Stay with me. The core of this season is about to be revealed, and once you see it clearly, the urgency in your spirit will finally make sense. My beloved child, now I will speak plainly and give this season its true name. What you have been living through was not delay. It was preparation under pressure. It was alignment beneath limitation. It was refinement disguised as restriction. You believed you were losing time. You believed something was slipping through your hands. But in reality, I was shaping you for acceleration. And acceleration without preparation would have broken what you prayed to build. You saw slowness. I saw strengthening. You felt confined. I was concentrating your focus. You thought doors were staying closed because you were not ready or not worthy. But those doors remained closed because your foundation was still being reinforced. I do not expand a life that cannot sustain its own expansion. I do not increase influence without deepening character. I do not accelerate momentum without first anchoring stability. This was development, not denial. There is a sacred difference between being delayed and being developed. Delay feels passive, like time slipping by. Development is active, even when it is invisible. And you, my beloved child, have been in active development. Every quiet decision, every restrained reaction, every unseen act of integrity, all of it was forming strength beneath the surface. I allowed pressure because pressure reveals structure. When weight is applied, weaknesses surface. And when weaknesses surface, they can be reinforced. The season revealed your impatience so it could mature into patience. It revealed your fear so it could transform into discernment. It revealed your dependency on visible reassurance so that you could grow into steady inner confidence. You were not being stalled. You were being stabilized. And stabilization always precedes acceleration. You have been asking me for expansion. You have prayed for growth, opportunity, visibility, impact. But expansion requires capacity. And capacity is built quietly, often painfully, in seasons where nothing seems to be happening. My beloved child, something was happening. Your roots were going deeper. When roots deepen, there is little visible change above ground. But below the surface, strength is multiplying. The tree that grows tallest must first grow deepest. If I had allowed your branches to stretch wider without reinforcing your roots, the first strong wind would have shaken you. So I deepen you. I deepen your emotional resilience. You do not react as quickly as you once did. You pause. You consider. You respond with greater wisdom. It did not come from ease. It came from tension. I deepened your discernment. You sense motives more clearly now. You recognize misalignment sooner. You no longer chase every opportunity simply because it appears open. That awareness was formed in the very stillness you resented. I deepen your humility. Success no longer dazzles you the way it once did. You value peace more than applause. You value alignment more than attention. That shift is evidence of growth. This season had boundaries. It was never permanent. It had a purpose, and that purpose was to align your character with your calling. Because calling without character becomes collapse. The urgency you feel now is not panic. It is transition. Acceleration follows alignment. When alignment is complete, movement becomes natural. Doors that once resisted will open without force. Decisions that once confused you will become clear. You will not feel frantic. You will feel steady. That steadiness is the sign that preparation has done its work. You are not about to enter chaos. You are about to enter momentum. But it will be measured. It will be purposeful. It will match the maturity you now carry within you. The time you feared was running out was never working against you. It was working within you. Every day of waiting layered strength upon strength. Every moment of uncertainty carved out deeper trust. Every closed door refined your discernment. You were being positioned precisely. And now, because you have been prepared, acceleration will not intimidate you. It will fit you. It will feel aligned instead of overwhelming. So do not interpret the rising urgency as loss. Interpret it as readiness. The compression you felt is giving way to expansion. The pressure you endured is producing movement. You were never behind, my beloved child. You were being built. and what is built with depth does not crumble when it begins to rise. My beloved child, before we move forward, I must carefully untangle the misunderstandings that tried to settle in your heart during this season. What you walked through was not punishment. You quietly searched your memory, replaying moments where you may have stumbled. You wondered if a wrong decision delayed your future. You questioned whether a weakness or failure caused me to withdraw something from you. But listen to me clearly. I do not guide your life with retaliation. I do not discipline you by withholding destiny. I am a father who wins to teach. I shape you through love, not through fear. This was not punishment, and it was not rejection. When doors closed, you felt the sting of exclusion. When opportunities dissolved, you felt overlooked. When people moved forward without you, you wondered if you had been quietly disqualified. But closed doors are not verdicts against your worth. They are boundaries protecting your becoming. You assumed that if something was meant for you, it would remain easily accessible. But what is meant for you must also be timed for you. If timing is misaligned, even a good opportunity becomes a burden. Some doors were closed because they were attached to an older version of you. They matched who you were before this refinement, not who you are becoming now. Had they remained open, you would have stepped into rooms too small for your growth, or into responsibilities too heavy for your then current strength. That was not rejection. That was protection. My beloved child, my silence was not abandonment. You felt the quiet and feared distance. You prayed and did not receive immediate clarity. You waited and did not see immediate change. And in that stillness, doubt tried to convince you that I had stepped back. But I do not withdraw my presence when you need me most. I do not disappear in seasons of uncertainty. When I am quiet, it is not because I am absent. It is because something deeper is forming. Foundations are laid underground. Roots expand in darkness. The most critical work often happens where applause cannot reach. I was closer than you realized. You also feared that perhaps you were being overlooked while others were being chosen. Comparison magnified that fear. You saw others advancing and assumed you had been set aside. But I do not choose one child by discarding another. Your journey is not a competition. Their movement did not cancel yours. Their acceleration did not mean your delay. What you saw externally was only a fragment of a much larger design. You must also release the interpretation that the urgency you felt was a threat. It was not a warning of loss. It was not a countdown to failure. It was not a signal that time was running out because you had fallen behind. The urgency was awakening, not accusation. Fear told you that something precious was slipping away. But fear does not speak for me. I do not motivate you through panic. I do not rush you with dread. When I create urgency, it is to sharpen your focus, not to shame your pace. And let this truth settle deeply within you. You were never forgotten. Not in the waiting. Not in the silence. Not in the disappointment. Not in the moments when you felt invisible. Every restrained reaction, every private act of integrity, every tear that fell without witnesses, I saw it all. None of it was dismissed. None of it was wasted. You were not being sidelined. You were being strengthened. You were not being excluded. You were being aligned. You were not being abandoned. You were being anchored. Sometimes what feels like loss is actually pruning. And pruning is not destruction. It is preparation for healthier growth. It removes what would hinder future strength. It clears space for expansion that can endure. My beloved child, this season was not a sign that you missed your destiny. It was evidence that your destiny required deeper roots. Release the bitterness that tried to grow. Release the self-blame that tried to settle. Release the narrative that you were punished or passed over. I have held you carefully through every step. I have guided you with precision, even when you could not see my hand. Nothing about this season was careless. Nothing about it was cruel. And nothing about it was against you. You have been carried, even in the quiet. My beloved child, let me remind you of the moments that seemed small to you but were significant to me. You remember the times when walking away would have been easier, when you were misunderstood, unappreciated, or overlooked, and everything in you wanted to leave with frustration. Yet you stayed, not because you were weak, but because you chose restraint over reaction. You chose patience over impulse. That choice mattered. You remember when you forgave someone who never truly apologized. You did not receive applause for that. No one celebrated your maturity. But you released bitterness quietly, even while your heart still felt tender. That quiet forgiveness strengthened you more than you realized. There were nights when you lay awake, wrestling with disappointment. You wanted to speak your frustration loudly. You wanted to demand answers. But instead, you brought your questions to me. Even if your prayers were short, even if they were tired, you still turned toward me instead of away from me. That posture formed something steady inside you. You resisted compromise when no one would have noticed if you gave in. There were opportunities that promised faster results, easier outcomes, quicker recognition. You could have taken shortcuts. You could have adjusted your integrity slightly and justified it. But you did not. You chose what was right over what was convenient. And choice carried weight. You endured seasons of obscurity without forcing visibility. You allowed yourself to grow in private instead of demanding recognition. You continued learning. You continued refining your skills. You continued showing up consistently, even when results were not immediate. You stayed when quitting felt justified. You remained honest when exaggeration would have elevated you. You kept your word when breaking it would have benefited you. My beloved child, these were not insignificant acts. They were building blocks. You may have thought the preparation was only happening in large, dramatic moments, but often it is formed in small, daily decisions. The choice to speak gently instead of sharply. A choice to wait instead of rush. A choice to reflect instead of react. Each of those moments strengthened your foundation. There were times when you swallowed pride. Times when you admitted you were wrong. Times when you humbled yourself instead of defending your ego. That humility was not weakness. It was maturity forming. You also learned to sit in discomfort without immediately escaping it. Instead of numbing your frustration with distraction, you allowed yourself to feel it. You processed it. You grew through it. That emotional endurance expanded your capacity. You think growth only counts when it is visible. But the deepest growth is often invisible at first. Every time you chose integrity over impulse, you reinforced your character. Every time you chose patience over pressure, you deepened your stability. Every time you chose faith over fear, even trembling faith, you strengthened your inner alignment. These obedience moments were not grand announcements. They were quiet agreements between your heart and mine. And I saw every one of them. You may have felt unnoticed. You may have wondered if your discipline mattered when no immediate reward followed. But obedience is not wasted simply because it is not instantly celebrated. It is forming capacity. It is preparing you for weight you will soon carry. Because acceleration without integrity would crush you. Visibility without humility would distort you. Responsibility without restraint would overwhelm you. So I watched you in the ordinary moments. I watched how you handled disappointment. I watched how you handled delay. I watched how you handled being unseen. And in those ordinary spaces, you proved something important. Not to me, because I already knew your potential, but to yourself. You proved that you could remain steady without constant validation. You proved that you could choose what is right even when it cost you something. You proved that your growth was not dependent on applause. These moments were shaping the version of you that is ready for what comes next. Nothing you endured was random. Nothing you resisted was wasted. Nothing you surrendered was forgotten. The strength you built quietly is about to matter more than you can imagine. My beloved child, slow your thoughts now and listen carefully, because what I am about to reveal will change how you interpret everything you have endured. The moments you thought were small were not small at all. You measured your progress by visible outcomes. You looked for movement you can point to. You searched for milestones you could celebrate. But the most powerful shifts in your life were happening beneath the surface, beyond the reach of applause, far from the spotlight you thought you needed. Every time you chose restraint over reaction, something strengthened within you. Every time you remained honest when exaggeration would have advanced you, something solidified within you. Every time you waited instead of forcing, trusted instead of panicking, forgave instead of hardening, you were laying bricks into a foundation you could not yet see. Nothing was wasted. Not the long stretches of repetition. Not the delayed answers. Not the quiet disappointments. Not the doors that closed without explanation. You assumed those moments disappeared into silence, but they were building substance. And substance is what sustains elevation. You asked me for more. More influence. More impact. More movement. But more without depth becomes unstable. So I allowed you to grow where no one could measure you. I allowed your strength to develop where no one could validate you. You were being expanded internally before you were elevated externally. Do you remember the times when frustration rose in you, and you chose to pause instead of react? That pause created emotional discipline. Do you remember when you wanted to speak sharply, but instead you softened your tone? That restraint formed maturity. Do you remember when you felt unseen, yet you continued to show up faithfully? That consistency carved resilience into your character. You thought those were survival tactics. They were construction tools. The hidden significance of this season lies in who you have become, not in what you have acquired. You are calmer now than you once were. Situations that would have shaken you deeply before now meet a steadier version of you. You analyze more thoughtfully. You discern more clearly. You are less easily impressed and less easily discouraged. That transformation did not arrive suddenly. It was shaped quietly through small decisions repeated daily. Even your disappointments carried hidden refinement. They revealed where your expectations were tied too tightly to outcomes. They exposed where your identity leaned too heavily on visible success. And as those attachments were exposed, they loosened. That loosening made room for deeper trust. My beloved child, you were being entrusted with unseen growth. When you resisted shortcuts, you strengthened integrity. When you endured obscurity, you strengthened humility. When you faced silence without quitting, you strengthened perseverance. Each of these qualities carries weight in seasons of acceleration. Acceleration without integrity leads to collapse. Visibility without humility leads to distortion. Opportunity without endurance leads to burnout. I was not withholding progress from you. I was protecting progress for you. The urgency you feel now is not a warning of loss. It is the stirring that comes when hidden work nears completion. It is the sensation of readiness forming. It is the quiet awareness that the foundation has settled enough to support movement. If these words are opening your eyes to the value of what you once questioned, acknowledge that awakening. Bless this message with a like as an act of agreement with the growth you endured. Share it with 3 souls who are weary in their waiting and need to understand that their obedience in secret is not invisible. And remain connected here so that when transition unfolds, you continue to receive the steady guidance that anchors your heart. In doing this, you are helping encouragement reach hearts that are standing where you once stood. My beloved child, you were never simply passing time. You were becoming stronger. You were becoming steadier. You were becoming trustworthy with way. The hidden significance of this season is this: you can now carry what once would have crushed you. You can now walk through doors that once would have intimidated you. You can now handle responsibility that once would have overwhelmed you. What was built in secret is about to sustain what unfolds in the open. And that is why nothing you endured was ever in vain. My beloved child, now let us speak about what was formed within you during this season, because what was built inside you is greater than anything you lost outside of you. Patience was not merely practice, it was planted deep within your spirit. At the beginning of this journey, waiting unsettled you. Delay felt like denial. Silence felt like distance. You wanted clarity quickly. You wanted answers immediately. You wanted confirmation before commitment. But through this stretching season, something changed. You learned how to breathe in uncertainty. You learned how to remain steady without constant reassurance. You learned that waiting does not mean abandonment. That is growth. Delay strengthened you in ways ease never could. When outcomes did not arrive on your timeline, you were forced to confront your expectations. You were invited to examine your motives. You began asking yourself not only what you wanted, but why you wanted it. A reflection deepened your self-awareness. You became more honest with yourself. You began recognizing where fear disguised itself as ambition. You noticed where comparison influenced your urgency. You became aware of how much your peace was tied to visible progress. And as you became aware, you began to loosen those attachments. This is character formation. Humility was formed quietly within you. Not humiliation, but humility. There is a difference. Humiliation wounds. Humility strengthens. You learn to accept seasons where you were not the center. You learn to celebrate others without diminishing yourself. You learn that worth is not measured by attention. That humility stabilized you. Emotional growth also took place. Situations that once triggered sharp reactions now meet a calmer version of you. You no longer respond purely from impulse. You pause. You assess. You seek wisdom. That pause is evidence of maturity. That restraint is evidence of transformation. You have also developed discernment. You are less easily swayed by excitement alone. You sense alignment more clearly. You no longer chase every opportunity that looks promising. You have learned that not all open doors are meant for you. That wisdom was born from past disappointments. Disappointment refined your discernment. You have become more anchored internally. External shifts no longer shake you as deeply. Your peace is less fragile. Your confidence is less dependent on applause. That internal anchoring is the fruit of everything you endured. My beloved child, this season built endurance in you. Endurance is not dramatic. It is steady. It is the quiet strength to keep walking when enthusiasm fades. It is the ability to remain faithful when motivation fluctuates. That endurance is now part of you. And perhaps most importantly, deeper trust has been cultivated. Not blind trust. Not naive trust. But grounded trust. Trust that has been tested. Trust that has faced silence and remained. Trust that has endured questions and still chosen belief. You do not trust me now because everything made sense. You trust me because you have seen that even when it did not make sense, you were sustained. A kind of trust cannot be taught quickly. It must be lived. You have also grown in self-control. Words that once would have escaped your lips now remain measured. Decisions that once would have been rushed are now considered carefully. You are no longer driven solely by emotion. You are guided by wisdom. This is formation. This is strengthening. This is preparation, completed through experience. You may not feel dramatically different. Growth rarely feels dramatic while it is happening. But if you compare who you are now to who you were at the beginning of this season, you will see it. You are steadier. You are wiser. You are less reactive. You are more discerning. You are more patient. You are more grounded. That is character. And character is what sustains calling. Without this formation, acceleration would destabilize you. Without this maturity, expansion would overwhelm you. Without this endurance, opportunity would exhaust you. But now, because of what has been formed, you are ready to carry what once would have crushed you. The season you feared was taking from you was actually building within you. And what has been built within you cannot be easily shaken. My beloved child, what has been built within you is strong, and now it must bear fruit beyond you. Time is almost gone for hesitation, for there are souls standing at the edge of surrender who need this word before they turn back. As you have been formed through patience and endurance, become a source of strength for others through super thanks. Membership, or the PayPal link waiting in the description. Every gift is a seed, and every seed carries life within it. Have I not declared, give and it shall be given unto you, pressed down and running over? I am speaking that promise over your obedience now. Let your generosity become light in someone else's darkness, oil in someone else's lamp, red in someone else's wilderness. This is how rivers flow, one faithful stream feeding another. I will guard what you entrust to me and multiply what you release for my purpose. Do not delay. Act now and partner with me in carrying this fire forward. My beloved child, let me sit with you in the very place that unsettled you the most, the silence. You remember how it felt. You prayed, and the sky did not split open with answers. You asked for direction, and clarity did not arrive in the way you expected. You waited for confirmation, and instead you received stillness. In that stillness, doubt tried to speak louder than my presence. You wondered if I had stepped back. You wondered if I was disappointed. You wondered if you were walking alone. But my silence was never absence. It was intention. There were answers I could have given you immediately. There were explanations I could have whispered clearly into your understanding. I could have told you why certain doors would close. I could have outlined the timeline of what was coming. I could have removed uncertainty altogether. But if I had done that, something essential would have been lost. If you had known the full outcome in advance, you might have endured only for the reward, not for the growth. If you had seen exactly when the shift would happen, you might have focused on surviving until that date instead of allowing transformation to take root. If I had explained every delay, you might have tried to manage the process rather than surrender to it. So I allowed quiet. Silence strips away performance. It reveals what is genuine. When reassurance is not constant, your motives become clear. When answers are delayed, your foundation is tested. Not to break you, but to strengthen you. You were not meant to perform your way into destiny. You were meant to become ready for it. There is a difference between performing and becoming. Performing seeks visible validation. Becoming seeks internal stability. Performing reacts to outcomes. Becoming is shaped regardless of outcomes. I was not preparing you to oppress others. I was preparing you to sustain what is coming. If I had spoken too soon, you might have acted from excitement instead of wisdom. You might have rushed into spaces you were not yet anchored enough to handle. Silence slowed you down long enough for depth to form. And depth takes time. My beloved child, I saw your frustration. I saw the nights when you whispered, "Why won't you answer me clearly?" I saw the moments when you tried to convince yourself that you did not need clarity, even though you longed for it deeply. You were not wrong to desire understanding, but you were being shaped in trust. Trust that survives only when everything makes sense is fragile, but trust that survives confusion becomes unshakable. You kept walking even without a map. You kept believing even without visible proof. You kept showing up even when enthusiasm faded. That is not weakness. That is strength being forged. Silence also protected you from carrying knowledge that would have created pressure too early. Some revelations require emotional maturity before they can be held responsibly. If you had known certain outcomes before your character was anchored, you might have carried anxiety instead of peace. I reveal in alignment with readiness, and readiness is measured by stability, not by impatience. You once believed that clarity would give you confidence, but what truly built your confidence was endurance. You learned that you could survive uncertainty. You learned that you could function without constant reassurance. You learned that you could feel doubt and still choose faith. That is becoming. The quiet season was not empty. It was full of unseen shaping. Your inner world was being strengthened so that your outer world would not dictate your peace. Your dependence on visible confirmation was being replaced with steady relational trust. And now, when silence comes, it will not frighten you the same way. You will remember this season. You will remember that even when you did not hear immediate answers, you were still being guided. My beloved child, I was never ignoring you. I was anchoring you. I was deepening you. I was forming a trust within you that does not collapse when the noise fades. And now you know, even in silence, I am actively working with precision and care. My beloved child, draw closer in this moment, because I want you to hear me without distortion, without the harsh filter you sometimes place over yourself. You endured more than you admit. You carrying pressure in silence. You wrestled with thoughts that never reached your lips. You maintained composure in situations that stretched you thin. And even when your faith trembled, you did not let it completely fall from your hands. I saw everything. I saw the mornings when you woke up already tired, not physically, but emotionally. I saw the effort it took for you to face responsibilities while still carrying unanswered questions. I saw the discipline it required to keep showing up when you felt overlooked. You may have looked steady to others, but I knew the strength it required behind the scenes. Do not dismiss that strength. There were internal battles you fought that no one applauded. You confronted doubt that whispered you were behind. You resisted the temptation to compare your journey to others. You restrained frustration when outcomes did not match your expectations. Those quiet victories were not insignificant. They were defining. You sometimes judge yourself for struggling. You believed that if your faith were stronger, you would not feel weary. You thought that if you trusted me perfectly, you would not question timing. But faith is not proven by the absence of emotion. It is proven by remaining anchored despite emotion. And you remained. Even when you felt discouraged, you did not surrender your integrity. Even when you felt confused, you did not abandon your values. Even when you felt tired, you did not walk away from your purpose. My beloved child, release the shame you carried about your weakness. Release the silent accusation that you should have handled everything better. Growth is not neat. It stretches. It exposes. It challenges. But you allowed yourself to stay in the process instead of escaping it. That matters deeply. You endured emotional cost. There were tears you did not explain to anyone. There were moments when disappointment sat heavy on your chest. There were nights when you wondered if you misunderstood me entirely. Yet even in those moments, you still turned your face toward me. You may not have done it perfectly, but you did it sincerely. You continued praying, even when your prayers were simple. You continued believing, even when belief felt fragile. You continued choosing integrity, even when shortcuts looked tempting. That is endurance. That is resilience forming. Your invisible sacrifices. You let go of relationships that were comfortable but misaligned. You declined opportunities that looked promising but did not bring peace. You chose restraint over retaliation when you could have justified anger. Those sacrifices shaped your character in ways you cannot yet fully measure. You did not allow pressure to transform you into someone you would later regret. You did not allow disappointment to permanently harden your heart. You did not allow delay to strip you of your values. You grew. Even when you did not feel like you were growing. Even when you thought nothing was happening. Even when you feared time was slipping away. You grew. And my beloved child, you passed through this refining without losing your core. You are still tender. You are still compassionate. You are still willing to trust. That is evidence that the fire refined you without consuming you. Lift your head now. Do not look back at this season with embarrassment. Look at it with recognition. Recognize the courage it took to remain steady. Recognize the humility it took to stay teachable. Recognize the strength it took to endure without applause. You were not weak. You were being forged. And the strength you now carry is quiet, but it is real. The resilience within you is steady, not loud, but it is firm. The trust you develop is deeper than before, because it survived uncertainty. My beloved child, I affirm you. You did not fail this season. You walked through it. You remained. You endured. And that endurance has prepared you for what comes next. My beloved child, remain with me now. Do not let your mind wander ahead. Do not allow distraction to dilute this moment. We are standing at the threshold of something decisive, and I need your full attention. Everything I have spoken until now had been leading here with precision. The urgency you felt was not random emotion. The silence you endured was not accidental distance. The refinement you walked through was not unnecessary suffering. Each piece was intentional. Each layer was placed carefully. Each moment was shaping you for this exact turning point. You have lived under tension for longer than you realized. There hath been a quiet suspense in your spirit, a sense that something was about to resolve, but you did not know whether it would resolve in your favor. You felt the pressure building. You felt time tightening around you. You interpreted that tightening as a possible ending. You prepared yourself emotionally for loss. You guarded your heart from expecting too much. You have been bracing for disappointment, bracing for confirmation that you were too late, bracing for a door to shut permanently. But I am not bringing you to this moment to confirm your fears. I am bringing you here to release them. Before I declare what must be declared, I need your heart calm. I need your thoughts steady. When clarity finally arrives after a long season of uncertainty, it can feel almost overwhelming. You have grown accustomed to questioning. You have adapted to ambiguity. You have learned how to function without full understanding. Now I am asking you to transition from questioning to receiving. You have examined yourself thoroughly. You replayed conversations. You reconsidered decisions. You evaluated your motives. You asked me sincerely, show me if I am wrong. A humility mattered. That willingness to be corrected mattered. That openness to growth mattered. But the season of self-examination has reached its purpose. You are not meant to stay under constant evaluation. You are not meant to live forever in analysis. There is a time to reflect, and there is a time to move. There is a time to refine, and there is a time to declare. This is the shift. The tension that once stretched you is about to settle into clarity. The urgency that felt like pressure is about to feel like confirmation. The uncertainty that clouded your perspective is about to thin. Yet I will not rush this. I will not dramatize this. I will not overwhelm you with excessive language. What I am about to speak does not require volume. It requires steadiness. My beloved child, listen closely. You are not standing at the edge of failure. You are not facing the closing of your destiny. You are not too late. But do not let your mind run ahead of me yet. Let these truths unfold fully in the next breath. Let your heart adjust. Let your defenses soften. You have been preparing yourself for a negative verdict. You thought perhaps the delay meant disqualification. You feared that the warning you sensed meant something precious was about to slip away. But the warning was not about punishment. It was about readiness. The urgency was not a countdown against you. It was a signal that alignment had reached completion. Stay present. Do not interrupt this moment with old fear. Do not allow past disappointment to speak louder than present clarity. You have carried the weight of what if long enough. What if I missed it? What if I failed? What if I misunderstood? Those questions shaped you, but they will not define you. Now prepare yourself, my beloved child. The verdict is not against you. It is for you. And when it is fully spoken, you will feel the weight you have been carrying begin to lift. Remain still. Remain attentive. The declaration is next. My beloved child, remain still in your spirit now, because what I am about to speak must not be rushed. Do not let your mind interrupt. Do not let old fears argue back. Let these words land fully. You are not too late. Not slightly late. Not barely late. Not almost disqualified. You are not too late. The time you feared had slipped beyond your reach has not betrayed you. The season you thought disqualified you has not erased your calling. The hesitation you regretted did not cancel what I have spoken over your life. You did not miss your moment. There were moments that passed, yes. There were doors that closed, yes. But those were not your defining doors. They were intersections along the road, not the destination itself. What I have aligned for you is not so fragile that one season of refinement could undo it. Hear me clearly, my beloved child. You were never disqualified. Your doubts did not remove you. Your questions did not replace you. Your weakness did not revoke you. You were being shaped, not sidelined. The urgency you felt was never a countdown to loss. It was a summons to readiness. It was me pressing gently on your spirit, saying, pay attention. The preparation is almost complete. You interpreted that pressure is danger, but it with alignment tightening into place. A window is not closing. It is opening. What you called delay was stabilization. What you called silence was construction. What you called pressure was reinforcement. And now the reinforcement is complete enough for movement. This verdict is not emotional exaggeration. It is steady truth. It is grounded. It is clear. It does not need grammatic language because it stands on reality. You are prepared. Not flawless. not finished in every area, but prepared for the next level of responsibility, clarity, and movement. Prepared because you endured instead of abandoning the process. Prepared because you chose integrity when compromise was easier. Prepared because you allowed humility to form rather than letting pride take control. You did not grow perfectly, but you grew genuinely. You did not handle every moment flawlessly, but you handled it faithfully. That faithfulness matters. Release the narrative that says you wasted too much time. Release the fear that says others have gone too far ahead. Their path was not your blueprint. Your timing was not your standard. Comparison distorted your perspective, but it never changed my plan. You are not behind. You are aligned. And alignment is more powerful than speed. If you had stepped forward earlier, you would have carried insecurity into rooms that require confidence. If you had accelerated before refinement, you would have taken instability into spaces that require steadiness. But now you carry maturity where once you carried urgency. You carry discernment where once you carried impulse. You carry patience where once you carried anxiety. That is readiness. The chapter of uncertainty has completed its assignment. The fire of refinement has accomplished its purpose. The silence has deepened your roots. You are no longer the same version of yourself who entered that season. You are calmer. You are wiser. You are less reactive. You are more grounded. A transformation is the evidence that this verdict stands. You are not too late. You were being positioned. The time you feared was slipping away was actually synchronizing you with the right moment. The pressure you thought would crush you clarified you. The waiting you interpreted as punishment strengthened you. This is not a recovery from failure. This is an emergence from preparation. Let relief replace self-accusation. Let clarity silence comparison. Let steadiness replace panic. My beloved child, I declare this without hesitation and without revision. You were not delayed by mistake. You were prepared on purpose. And now, because you are aligned, the way forward is open before you. My beloved child, do not rush past this moment. Do not immediately look outward for proof. The clearest evidence that you have passed through this season successfully is not found in circumstances yet. It is found within you. Look at yourself honestly. You are not who you were when this began. When this season first unfolded, uncertainty unsettled you deeply. You searched constantly for reassurance. You replayed decisions in your mind, wondering if one wrong step had altered everything. You felt urgency and interpreted it as danger. You felt silence and interpreted it as distance. But now, something within you has changed. You do not react the same way anymore. Where you once panicked, you now pause. Where you once rushed, you now reflect. Where you once allowed fear to dictate your next move, you now wait for clarity. That pause is not weakness. It is evidence of maturity. You have become calmer under pressure. The same kind of delay that once caused your thoughts to spiral now meets a steadier version of you. You still care deeply. You still feel the weight of responsibility. But you are no longer controlled by immediate emotion. You can feel anxiety without surrendering to it. You can experience disappointment without collapsing under it. That is growth that cannot be faked. You also respond differently to criticism and misunderstanding. There was a time when you would have defended yourself quickly, trying to protect your image. Now you listen first. You evaluate. You choose your words more carefully. You do not feel the same urgency to prove yourself. That restraint is evidence of internal strengthening. Even your relationship with opportunity has matured. In the past, anything that looked promising would have stirred immediate excitement. You would have rushed forward, afraid that hesitation meant missing out. Now you examine alignment. You look for peace. You ask deeper questions. You are not easily swayed by appearance alone. A discernment was born in delay. My beloved child, your emotional landscape has shifted. You are more self-aware. You recognize when comparison tries to creep in. You notice when fear begins whispering. And instead of blindly following those thoughts, you confront them. You examine them. You bring them to me. That awareness did not exist at this depth before. Your prayers have changed as well. They are less frantic, less driven by panic. You speak to me with honesty, yes, but also with steadiness. You no longer approach me only when urgency overwhelms you. You approach me from relationship, not desperation. That is trust maturing. You have learned to wait without assuming you are being punished. You have learned that silence does not automatically mean absence. You have learned that delay does not equal denial. Those lessons were not theoretical. They were lived, and living them transformed you. There is also a quiet confidence emerging within you. It is not loud. It does not demand attention. It is steady. It is the confidence of someone who has endured uncertainty and discovered resilience. You now know something you did not fully know before. You can withstand pressure. That knowledge changes how you walk. You carry yourself differently. You make decisions more thoughtfully. You think beyond immediate outcomes. You value stability over speed. You are less impressed by quick success and more committed to lasting growth. These are not small adjustments. They are internal evidence that refinement succeeded. Do not overlook these changes simply because they are subtle. The strongest foundations are poured slowly and hidden beneath the surface. You may not feel dramatically transformed, but transformation has occurred. You are less reactive. You are more discerning. You are steadier in uncertainty. You are more grounded in trust. You are more patient with process. My beloved child, this is proof. You did not merely survive this season. You were strengthened by it. You were not left unchanged. You were prepared intentionally. And because of what has formed inside you, you are now capable of carrying what comes next without losing your peace, your integrity, or your alignment. My beloved child, now that the verdict has been spoken and the evidence within you has been revealed, you must understand what this season has unlocked. Preparation is never wasted effort. It is never simply about surviving difficulty. It is about expanding capacity. And when capacity expands, responsibility follows. You are not stepping into noise. You are stepping into stewardship. Because you have grown in patience, you can now be entrusted with timing. You no longer rush simply because you feel urgency. You no longer move simply because others are moving. You have learned to discern when to act and when to remain still. That ability unlocks wiser decisions. Because you have developed emotional steadiness, you can now carry greater responsibility without becoming overwhelmed. In the past, pressure might have triggered panic. Now pressure invites evaluation. You assess before reacting. You consider before committing. That calm is not accidental. It was formed. This is what hath been unlocked. Measured authority. Authority is not loud. It does not demand attention. It does not rush to prove itself. Authority moves with clarity and restraint. And you are stepping into a quieter authority over your own life. You are less easily manipulated by fear. You are less driven by comparison. You are less impressed by appearances. That internal shift unlocks freedom. You are free to choose alignment over approval. You are free to say no without guilt. You are free to wait without anxiety. That freedom is the fruit of maturity. This season has also unlocked discernment at a deeper level. You will sense misalignment sooner now. You will recognize when something looks good but does not feel right. You will feel peace as confirmation rather than excitement alone. That awareness protects you from unnecessary detours. Do not misuse this new discernment by becoming suspicious of everything. It is not meant to isolate you. It is meant to guide you. You are being invited into increased responsibility, not increased pressure. Responsibility means your choices carry more weight because your capacity has expanded. You are no longer reacting to life. You are stewarding it. Stewardship requires steadiness. It requires humility. It requires self-control. You have been forming those qualities quietly. My beloved child, this unlocking is measured. It is not overwhelming expansion all at once. It is not every door opening simultaneously. It is not sudden chaos disguised as opportunity. It is aligned increase that matches your growth. You once prayed for elevation without understanding the internal discipline it required. Now you carry that discipline. You may not feel dramatically different, but you are internally anchored in ways you were not before. You will notice it in small ways. You will notice it when you choose your words carefully. You will notice it when you decline something that once would have tempted you. You will notice it when you wait without feeling behind. These are signs that you are stewarding what has been unlocked. Do not rush to prove your readiness. Readiness does not need to announce itself. It reveals itself through wise decisions made consistently. If these words are resonating within you, if you sense the weight of new responsibility settling gently on your shoulders, acknowledge it. Bless this message with a like as an agreement with the maturity you now carry. Share it with someone who is stepping into greater responsibility and needs reassurance that growth is not accidental. And remain connected here so that you continue receiving steady guidance as you walk forward. In doing so, you help this encouragement reach hearts that are ready to move with wisdom rather than haste. My beloved child, what has been unlocked is not chaos. It is clarity. It is discernment. It is measured authority. It is the ability to move without panic and to wait without fear. You are not simply hoping for change anymore. You are prepared to steward it wisely. And because you are prepared, what unfolds next will not overwhelm you. It will align with the strength, patience, and discernment that have been carefully formed within you. My beloved child, I want you to revisit the doors that closed, but this time with steadier eyes. Do not look at them through the lens of pain alone. Look at them through the lens of growth. There are still moments that surface in your memory. Opportunities you were certain would work. Conversations that felt promising. Relationships that seemed aligned with your deepest hopes. When those doors shut, the sound echoed in your heart. It felt final. It felt personal. It felt like something had been taken from you. You questioned yourself in those moments. You asked whether you had said too much or too little. You wondered if you had hesitated when you should have moved. You examined your actions, searching for the flaw that might explain the ending. And beneath all those thoughts was a quieter fear. Was I not enough? But my beloved child, those doors did not close because you were insufficient. They closed because you were evolving. Growth changes compatibility. The version of you who desired those doors was not the version of you who stands here now. You have matured. Your discernment has sharpened. Your standards have deepened. Some of those environments would have confined you. Some of those relationships would have required compromise that your present heart would not tolerate. You saw opportunity. I saw limitation. There were rooms you wanted to enter that would have celebrated your abilities, but quietly drained your peace. There were paths that promised speed but lacked stability. There were connections that felt meaningful but were not sustainable for the depth you are growing into. I closed them not to deny you but to direct you. Intervention can feel like interruption, and interruption often feels like rejection. But rejection was never the intended. Protection was. You did not see the full weight of what you were stepping toward. You did not see how certain environments would have shaped you subtly over time. You did not see the emotional cost hidden beneath attractive opportunities. I did. Acceleration without alignment fractures. Visibility without stability distorts. Connection without shared growth weakens. So I allowed closure. Yes, it hurt. Yes, it confused you. Yes, it left you with unanswered questions. I do not dismiss that grief. Your disappointment was real. You invested hope. You imagined outcomes. You prepared yourself for continuity. But pain does not mean you were abandoned. Pain often accompanies redirection. Imagine, my beloved child, if those doors had remained open. Imagine stepping fully into spaces before your discernment matured. You might have gained progress outwardly while losing steadiness inwardly. You might have advanced publicly while shrinking privately. You might have achieved speed while sacrificing peace. I love you too much to allow that exchange. Closed doors are not always denials of desire. Sometimes they are confirmations of protection. Sometimes they are signs that alignment is being preserved for something more fitting. You were not being deprived. You were being positioned. And positioning sometimes requires subtraction before addition. Release the bitterness that tried to grow around those memories. Release the regret that whispers, "What if I had tried harder?" Release the narrative that suggests you were overlooked. You were guided. Now that you are steadier, you can see more clearly. The doors that will open next will not demand that you shrink. They will not pressure you to compromise your values. They will not require you to silence your growth. They will align with who you have become. And you will recognize them differently, not from desperation, not from fear of missing out, but from discernment. You will feel peace rather than pressure. You will sense stability rather than urgency. My beloved child, trust this fully. What closed was not your destiny slipping away. It was your destiny being safeguarded. And as you move forward, you will no longer chase every open door. You will walk confidently through the right ones, because you now understand that alignment is more powerful than access. My beloved child, as you trust that closed doors were protection, recognize the door I open before you now. Time is almost gone to remain passive while hearts are crying out for direction. I close certain paths to preserve you, but I open this invitation so you may help preserve others. When you give through super thanks, stand in membership, or sow through the PayPal link in the description, you become part of the positioning of countless lives. This is seed time, and seed time determines harvest. I have said, those who sow in tears shall reap in joy, and I breathe that promise over your generosity. What you release will return as favor, stability, and open doors align with your growth. Let this not be interruption. Let it be divine alignment. Support this mission now, and watch how I use your obedience to safeguard destinies beyond your sight. My beloved child, remain still with me here because this shift is not small. It is not cosmetic. It is foundational. What has changed in you is not merely your reactions, not merely your habits, not merely your patience. What has changed is your identity. For a long time, you quietly identified as someone trying to survive. You survived disappointment. You survived delay. You survived confusion. You survived silence. You measured your strength by endurance. You told yourself, if I can just get through this, I will be okay. And survival mattered. It kept you steady when you could have collapsed. It preserved your integrity when you could have compromised. But survival was never meant to be your permanent identity. You are not just someone who made it through. You are someone entrusted because you did. There is a subtle but powerful transformation happening inside you. You are shifting from survivor to steward. A survivor asks, how do I endure this? A steward asks, how do I manage what I have been given? A survivor focuses on escape. A steward focuses on responsibility. You are becoming a steward. Steward of your peace. Steward of your growth. Steward of your discernment. Steward of your time and energy. In the past, you sometimes saw yourself as overlooked. You felt as though others were chosen while you were waiting. You wondered if you were standing on the outside while life moved forward without you. That perception shaped your confidence. It made you cautious. It made you question your worth. But now, perspective is changing. You were not overlooked. You were being entrusted in silence. Entrusted with lessons others did not receive. Entrusted with depth others did not cultivate. Entrusted with patience others did not develop. This identity shift is quiet. It does not shout. It does not boast. It does not demand recognition. It settles into you like steadiness. It is the confidence of someone who knows they have endured refining and emerged stronger. You no longer feel the same urgency to prove yourself. That urgency has softened. Not because you lack ambition, but because you no longer tie your identity to speed. You are less reactive to comparison. You are less shaken by someone else's progress. You understand that your path is distinct. That understanding is maturity becoming identity. There were subtle labels you carried before. Labels you never said out loud but felt internally. Behind. Late. Unnoticed. Trying to catch up. Those labels influenced how you moved. They made you second-guess yourself. They made you overanalyze opportunities. They made you fear missing out. Release them. You are not behind. You are aligned. You are not late. You are prepared. You are not unnoticed. You are trusted with depth. Identity rooted in insecurity causes trembling. Identity rooted in stewardship produces intention. You are becoming intentional. Intentional in speech. Intentional in boundaries. Intentional in decisions. Intentional in who you allow close. You no longer open every door simply because it opens. You evaluate. You discern. You consider alignment. That is not hesitation born of fear. It is wisdom born of growth. This shift will change how you enter the next season. You will not walk in desperate for affirmation. You will not cling to opportunity from anxiety. You will not shrink yourself to fit into rooms that do not honor your maturity. You will walk in aware of your capacity, aware of your value, aware of your responsibility. Responsibility no longer intimidates you the same way. You understand now that growth prepared you for it. You are not scrambling for survival anymore. You are stewarding what has been formed within you. My beloved child, this is who you are now. Not merely someone who endured a difficult chapter, but someone entrusted because you did. And as you carry this identity forward, you will find that what once felt overwhelming now feels manageable. What once felt intimidating now feels aligned. What once felt like pressure now feels like purpose. You have moved from surviving to stewarding, from reacting to leading yourself wisely, from insecurity to quiet confidence. This is the identity shift, and it will carry you steadily into what comes next. My beloved child, listen carefully now, because this instruction is simple, but it will protect everything that has been formed within you. Do not rush. I say it again, not to restrain you, but to steady you. Do not rush. You feel movement beginning. You sense that alignment has settled into place. You recognize that something inside you has shifted, and because of that awareness, there may be a subtle urgency rising again. A thought that whispers, now move quickly. Now make it happen. Now prove you are ready. But readiness does not require haste. You spent an entire season learning patience. You learned how to breathe in uncertainty. You learned how to endure silence without collapsing. You learned how to choose integrity over impulse. Do not abandon those lessons in the excitement of forward motion. There is a difference between momentum and panic. Momentum is steady. Panic is frantic. Momentum builds. Panic burns out. You are not stepping into a season that requires frantic acceleration. You are stepping into a season that requires grounded movement. The foundation hath been laid slowly and intentionally. If you rush now, you risk building too quickly on a structure that was designed for stability, not speed. My beloved child, guard your pace. You may feel the temptation to compensate for what you believed was lost time. You may think, I need to catch up. But you are not catching up. You are aligned. Alignment does not chase. Alignment walks with clarity. Let that truth settle. When decisions come before you, pause. Not because you are afraid, but because you are wise. Let discernment speak before emotion. Let peace confirm before excitement persuades. You do not need to seize every opportunity. You need to steward the right ones. Stewardship requires patience. You have moved from surviving to stewarding. A survivor reacts quickly to protect themselves. A steward responds carefully to preserve what they carry. You are now responsible for your peace, your growth, your discernment, your energy. Do not surrender those gains to unnecessary urgency. The world around you may move quickly. Others may appear to leap forward suddenly. Comparison may try to whisper again, urging you to match their speed. But you are not on their timeline. You are on the path that refined you. Speed without stability leads to collapse. Growth without grounding leads to exhaustion. You are not meant to be exhausted by what comes next. You are meant to carry it steadily. This present season is about consistent steps. Small, intentional movements. Thoughtful decisions. Guarded speech. Measured responses. There is strength in steady rhythm. There is power in consistency. One calm decision made with clarity is more valuable than 10 rushed decisions made from anxiety. Let peace be your compass. Peace does not mean the absence of effort. It means the presence of alignment. When you move in alignment, even difficult steps feel grounded. When you rush ahead of alignment, even easy opportunities feel heavy. Pay attention to the difference. My beloved child, you do not need to prove your readiness. You do not need to demonstrate growth through dramatic action. Growth reveals itself in discipline. Discipline in how you think. Discipline in how you speak. Discipline in how you choose. Discipline is quiet strength. So I give you this single instruction again, clearly and lovingly. Do not rush. Move steadily. Remain grounded. Let your steps match your maturity. And as you walk this way, you will discover that what unfolds does not overwhelm you, because it will be built upon the calm strength that has already been carefully formed within you. My beloved child, I want to stay here a little longer, because this fear runs deeper than you admit. You are not only afraid of difficulty, you are afraid of repetition. You endured a season that stretched you, and now that clarity has come, a quiet thought lingers in the background. What if this peace is temporary? What if I am about to go through that all over again? You hesitate to fully exhale. You hesitate to fully celebrate growth. You hesitate to relax into stability. Because somewhere inside you, there is a memory of how disorienting the last season felt. You remember the silence. You remember the confusion. You remember the internal pressure that made you question yourself. And even now, as strength settles in, your heart asks cautiously, is this permanent? Or is another cycle waiting? My beloved child, listen carefully. You are not trapped in repetition. You are not condemned to relive the same lesson endlessly. The season you walked through was not a loop. It was a staircase. A loop returns you to the same place. A staircase lifts you higher with each step. You are not circling the same mountain. You are ascending. Yes, life will still bring growth. Yes, there will be moments that stretch you again. But stretching at a higher level is not the same as repeating confusion at a lower one. The instability you once felt will not define future growth, because you are no longer that version of yourself. You fear repeating cycles because you remember who you were when the last one began. You were less steady, less aware, less grounded. You doubted your discernment more easily. You reacted more quickly. You panicked more frequently. But that person has changed. You now have emotional regulation that did not exist before. You have discernment sharpened by experience. You have patience cultivated through endurance. You have trust strengthened by survival. Even if new challenges arise, they will not find you unprepared. They will meet you fortified. Growth is not punishment. Refinement is not revenge. Correction is not condemnation. When I refine you, I do so with purpose and completion. I do not revisit the same lesson once it hath been integrated. I build upon it. I layer maturity upon maturity. I strengthen what has already been formed. What you fear is not actually repetition. It is vulnerability. You fear that if you relax, something will be taken. You fear that if you trust too deeply, you will be disappointed again. But peace is not bait. Stability is not temporary relief before another collapse. You are not under constant evaluation. You are not being watched for failure. You are not one mistake away from being sent backward. That voice of paranoia does not come from me. Application is different from testing. Testing exposes weakness. Application demonstrates strength. You are stepping into application. That means you will use what you learned. You will apply patience instead of being forced into it. You will choose discernment instead of discovering its necessity through pain. You will respond with steadiness because steadiness now belongs to you. And even if growth stretches you again, it will feel different. It will not feel like chaos. It will not feel like confusion swallowing you. It will feel like challenge meeting capacity. My beloved child, you are allowed to trust forward movement. You are allowed to feel secure. You are allowed to believe that this is not a setup for disappointment. You are not walking in circles. You are climbing in layers. Each layer builds upon the last. Each season strengthens what came before. And you are not going back. You are moving forward with tools, clarity, and resilience that ensure even future stretching will not resemble past instability. The cycle has been broken. Growth remains. And you are stronger than you were when the last season began. My beloved child, lean in closely now, because this instruction will quietly determine whether your next season remains stable or becomes unsettled. Guard your words. I do not say this lightly. I say it because your speech has more influence over your direction than you realize. The season you walked through trained your endurance, sharpened your discernment, and deepened your trust. But what will preserve that growth is the discipline of your language. Words are not merely sounds leaving your mouth. They are agreements. They are alignments. They are reinforcements of belief. Every time you speak about yourself, your future, your circumstances, you are either strengthening truth or reviving old insecurity. In your previous season, many of your words were shaped by confusion. You spoke from fear because fear felt loud. You verbalized doubt because doubt felt convincing. You rehearsed worst-case outcomes because you were trying to emotionally prepare for disappointment. You said things like, "I'm always behind," or "nothing ever works out the way I hope," or "I must have missed it again." Those words did not make you weak, but they did reinforce instability. You are no longer in that place. Your identity has shifted. Your posture has shifted. Your maturity has deepened. Your words must now follow that transformation. If you continue to speak as though you are still behind, your mind will search for evidence to confirm it. If you continue to declare that you always miss your moment, you will approach new opportunities with hesitation. If you keep saying that delay equals failure, you will interpret alignment as loss. Guard your words, not by pretending everything is perfect, not by suppressing emotion, but by choosing language that reflects growth instead of fear. There will be moments when frustration rises again. In those moments, you will feel the old vocabulary try to return. You may feel the urge to say, "Here we go again," or "This always happens to me." But pause before allowing those words to escape. Ask yourself, does this reflect who I am now or who I was before refinement? You are no longer the person who panics at every delay. You are no longer the person who interprets silence as abandonment. You are no longer the person who assumes the worst immediately. Your speech must match your maturity. The voice you hear most often is your own. If that voice criticizes you constantly, predicts failure, or exaggerates setbacks, your internal stability will weaken. But if that voice speaks steady truth, if it says, "I am aligned, I am learning, this delay does not define me," your confidence will remain anchored. Words are seeds. They do not grow overnight, but they grow consistently. If you plant doubt repeatedly, insecurity will take root. If you plant patience repeatedly, peace will deepen. If you plant truth repeatedly, clarity will strengthen. My beloved child, maturity is revealed in restrained speech. Anyone can react impulsively. Anyone can vent carelessly. But wisdom filters emotion through perspective before releasing language. This next season will require clear communication. Clear with yourself, clear with others, clear in prayer. If your internal dialogue remains disciplined, your external decisions will follow. If your language is chaotic, your thinking will become scattered. You do not need dramatic declarations. You need consistent alignment. Speak peace when anxiety knocks. Speak patience when urgency whispers. Speak truth when comparison tries to distort perspective. And when you are unsure of what to say, choose silence over careless reaction. Silence can preserve growth. You are stewarding what has been unlocked within you. A steward does not speak recklessly about what they are responsible for protecting. You are responsible now for guarding your peace, reinforcing your identity, and sustaining your clarity. So let your words agree with your growth. Let your speech confirm your alignment. Let your voice strengthen your steadiness. And as you guard your words, you will guard your future from being shaped by fear instead of faith. My beloved child, I will not leave you with understanding alone. Understanding must become rhythm. Growth must become daily practice. What has been formed within you will remain strong only if it is reinforced consistently. You do not need complicated systems. You need steady patterns. Begin your day before the noise begins. Before you reach for your device. Before you absorb the opinions, demands, and expectations of others. Sit quietly, even if only for a few minutes. Breathe slowly. Acknowledge my presence. Remind yourself who you are before the world attempts to define you. This small act anchors your identity. When you wake and immediately step into noise, comparison can shape your mood. Urgency can set your pace. Pressure can define your thoughts. But when you begin with stillness, you choose alignment first. You allow peace to speak before fear has the opportunity. Do not underestimate the power of 5 intentional minutes. Stillness recalibrates you. My beloved child, cultivate reflection. Not obsessive analysis, but gentle awareness. At the end of your day, take a few moments to ask yourself simple questions. Where did I react from pressure? Where did I respond from peace? What did I learn today? What will I adjust tomorrow? This is not self-criticism. It is stewardship. When you reflect consistently, small misalignments are corrected quickly. You prevent them from becoming patterns. You remain conscious of your growth rather than drifting unconsciously back into old habits. Guard your internal dialogue throughout the day. When a thought arises that says, "You are behind," pause and gently correct it. Say instead, "I'm aligned." When a delay occurs and your mind whispers, "Here we go again," respond with, "This moment does not define me." Correction does not require holiness. It requires consistency. You are retraining your mind to agree with truth rather than fear. My beloved child, also be mindful of what you allow into your environment. The voices you listen to repeatedly shape your emotional state. If you fill your day with constant comparison, you will feel restless. If you absorb negativity without filtering it, you will feel unstable. Choose wisely what you consume. Replace unnecessary noise with moments of quiet. Replace constant comparison with gratitude. Replace self-condemnation with honest growth. You do not need to transform everything at once. Small, steady changes are more sustainable than dramatic overhauls. Throughout your day, practice intentional pauses. Before responding to a difficult message. Before making a significant decision. Before speaking in frustration. Take one breath. Ask yourself whether your response is rooted in peace or in pressure. That single breath can preserve alignment. Peace produces clarity. Pressure produces reaction. The difference between the two is often one moment of pause. There will be days when you feel strong and grounded. There will also be days when insecurity tries to resurface. Do not interpret those days as failure. Growth is not linear emotion. Return to rhythm. Return to stillness. Return to reflection. Consistency matters more than intensity. You do not need to feel inspired every morning. You need to remain intentional every day. Intentional in speech. Intentional in thought. Intentional in pace. My beloved child, sustainability is the goal. A steady heart cultivated through daily practice will carry you further than bursts of motivation followed by exhaustion. Begin with stillness. Practice awareness. Guard your words. Reflect honestly. Move deliberately. These are not dramatic commands. They are stabilizing rhythms. And as you commit to them daily, you will notice something powerful. Peace will become familiar. Clarity will become natural. Alignment will become your default posture. This is how you protect what has been formed. This is how you walk forward without losing the maturity that prepared you. This is how you sustain growth long after the emotion of this moment fades. My beloved child, pause with me here, because this moment marks another transition you may not yet fully see. Your growth is no longer contained within you. When you were in survival, your focus was internal. You were learning how to regulate your thoughts. You were learning how to endure silence without losing faith. You were learning how to stand steady when uncertainty pressed against you. That season required privacy. It required deep, hidden work that few people understood. But now, something has changed. You are no longer merely surviving. You are stabilizing environments. You may not notice it immediately, but others do. They can feel the difference in your presence. You no longer carry the same frantic energy. You no longer speak with the same insecurity. Your responses are measured. Your tone is calmer. Your pace is steadier. That steadiness influences people. Influence does not require a platform. It requires consistency. You influence in ordinary spaces, at work, in conversations, in family moments, in friendships. When tension rises and you remain calm, you shift the atmosphere. When others rush and you pause, you model wisdom. When someone spirals and you speak gently, you offer grounding. This is responsibility, not pressure. Responsibility. Growth always expands beyond the individual. What was formed in you through silence and refinement was never meant to stop with you. It was meant to create stability wherever you walk. But listen carefully, my beloved child. With influence comes humility. There may be moments when you notice how far you have come. You may observe others reacting the way you once reacted. You may see confusion in them that you have already worked through. In those moments, pride will try to whisper. Do not allow it space. Remember who you were. Remember the nights when you doubted yourself. Remember the days when you felt behind. Remember the uncertainty that once shaped your speech. Compassion must accompany maturity. You are not called to correct everyone. You are called to embody steadiness. When someone is anxious, you do not need to lecture them. Your calm presence will speak. When someone feels lost, you do not need dramatic advice. Your clarity will comfort them. When someone complains, you do not need to shame them. Your gratitude will influence them. Presence often teaches more than instruction. You may also begin to notice that people seek your perspective more frequently. They may ask how you stay grounded. They may confide in you. They may trust you with their vulnerability. You not take this lightly. Words spoken from maturity carry weight. Speak only what you have lived. Speak honestly, not perfectly. Speak from humility, not superiority. You do not need to have every answer. Influence does not require omniscience. It requires integrity. It requires alignment between your words and your walk. And if you sense that this message is stirring something within you, if you recognize that your growth now carries responsibility, then respond intentionally. Bless this message with a like as a sign that you accept the call to steward influence wisely. Share this message with 3 souls who are still navigating confusion and need steady encouragement. And remain connected here, so that together we can continue spreading calm clarity to hearts that are ready to mature. My beloved child, influence is not something you chase. It is something you carry. You do not need to announce your transformation. It will be seen in your restraint. It will be heard in your measured speech. It will be felt in your steady presence. Carry this responsibility gently. Carry it humbly. Carry it consistently. Because what has been formed within you was never meant to remain private. It was meant to flow outward, bringing peace wherever your feet walk. And as you steward that influence with humility, you will discover that your greatest impact will not come from force, but from faithful steadiness. My beloved child, I will speak this slowly, because if you truly receive it, it will protect your peace more than you realize. You must detach from outcomes, not from effort, not from obedience, not from excellence, but from outcomes. For much of your life, you unknowingly tied your emotional stability to results. When something succeeded, you felt secure. When progress was visible, you felt validated. When a door opened, you felt chosen. But when plans shifted, when responses were delayed, when opportunities dissolved, your confidence wavered. Your peace rose and fell with circumstances. That is exhaustive, and that is not how you are meant to live anymore. You have been refined so that your identity is no longer built on immediate results. You have matured so that your confidence is not fragile when timelines adjust. You have grown so that your worth is not measured by visible progress. Detachment is not indifference. It is trust. It is the strength to act faithfully and release control over how everything unfolds. It is the ability to invest wholeheartedly without gripping tightly. It is planting seeds and allowing them to grow in their proper season without digging them up daily to check their roots. My beloved child, control once felt like safety. If you could predict the outcome, you felt calm. If you could manage the timeline, you felt powerful. But your refining season taught you something deeper. You can remain steady even when you do not know the ending. That lesson must now become lifestyle. You do not need daily visible proof to remain aligned. You do not need constant affirmation to trust your direction. You do not need immediate success to validate your preparation. Fixation on outcomes breeds anxiety. It makes you overanalyze conversations. It makes you interpret delay as danger. It makes you question your worth when progress slows. It tempts you to overcorrect prematurely. That cycle drains peace and clouds discernment. Detachment restores clarity. You give your best effort. You speak with integrity. You move with discernment. And then you release the result. Because the result is not your identity. The result is not your worth. The result is not the ultimate measure of alignment. Sometimes outcomes will exceed your expectations. Sometimes they will unfold differently than you imagined. Sometimes they will require adjustment. But none of those variations undo who you are. In the past, an unexpected outcome might have shaken you deeply. Now you can say calmly, "This shift does not define me. This adjustment does not cancel my preparation. This delay does not mean I failed." Detachment protects you from emotional extremes. It protects you from pride when things accelerate. It protects you from despair when things slow down. It keeps you centered. My beloved child, you are responsible for your posture, not for every outcome. Your posture of integrity. Your posture of humility. Your posture of steadiness. When you detach from outcomes, you stop performing for validation. You stop striving to prove your readiness through visible results. You begin living from identity rather than chasing confirmation. There is freedom here. Freedom from obsessively checking progress. Freedom from fearing that one misstep will undo everything. Freedom from tying your joy to fluctuating circumstances. You are allowed to work diligently and rest peacefully. You are allowed to hope boldly and sleep calmly. You are allowed to build intentionally without gripping anxiously. This is maturity. The next season will include movement. Opportunities will come. Conversations will unfold. Some things will align exactly as you imagined. Others will surprise you. Hold them all with open hands. What is aligned will remain. What is misaligned will redirect. Your peace must not depend on whether every detail matches your expectation. Detach from outcomes. Remain anchored in identity. Remain faithful in effort. Remain calm in progress. And as you live this way, you will discover a stability that cannot be shaken by shifting circumstances. Because your foundation will no longer be built on what happens. It will be built on who you have become. My beloved child, as you detach from outcomes and anchor yourself in identity, hear me clearly. Time is almost gone to hesitate in obedience. When you release control, you make room for impact. Supporting this mission through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description is not about clinging to results. It is about sowing in trust. A farmer does not dig up the seed in anxiety. He plants and believes in rain. So it is with you. Plant into this work, and allow me to breathe on it like wind over dry bones. Test me in this, I say to you even now, and see if I will not open the windows of heaven. Your generosity becomes light that travels farther than your voice ever could. I will steady your provision as you help steady this calling. Act in freedom, give in faith, and release the outcome to me, now. My beloved child, I want to go deeper here, because this is where many who grow strong quietly begin to weaken again. You are allowed to rest. Not because you are tired alone. Not because you failed. Not because you gave up. But because you are human, and I designed you with rhythm. For much of your life, you believed that constant effort was the safest position. If you were always working, always thinking, always playing, you felt protected. Busyness became armor. Productivity became reassurance. Exhaustion became proof that you were serious about your purpose. But that belief slowly taught you something untrue. It taught you that if you stopped, everything would fall apart. It taught you that rest was risky. It taught you that slowing down meant falling behind. And so even when your body was tired, your mind kept racing. Even when your spirit longed for stillness, you pushed forward. Even when you achieved progress, you struggled to enjoy it because you were already thinking about the next demand. My beloved child, that is not alignment. That is anxiety disguised as dedication. True dedication includes rhythm. Even the earth has cycles. Day gives way to night. Seasons shift. Tides rise and fall. There is movement, and there is pause. Growth, and then recovery. Exhaustion, and then replenishment. You were never meant to operate without pause. Rest is not weakness. Rest is wisdom. Rest is trust embodied. When you rest, you declare that your future is not fragile. When you rest, you demonstrate that alignment does not collapse in your absence. When you rest, you reveal that your worth is not tied to constant output. You have matured enough now to understand something you once resisted. Sustainability is greater than intensity. You can sprint for a short time, but you were not designed to sprint forever. If you attempt to carry your next season without intentional rest, exhaustion will distort your discernment. Fatigue will sharpen your ability. Overextension will blur clarity. You will begin to react instead of respond. You will speak more quickly than wisely. You will interpret situations more negatively than accurately. Rest protects you from unnecessary damage. It protects your tone. It protects your patience. It protects your perspective. My beloved child, rest is not something you earn after collapse. It is something you practice before collapse. Do not wait until you are overwhelmed to pause. Do not wait until you are frustrated to withdraw for stillness. Build rest into your rhythm. Schedule quiet. Honor sleep. Protect moments of stillness without apology. And when guilt whispers, "You should be doing more," answer it with truth. You are doing what is aligned. You are building what is sustainable. You are honoring the design I placed within you. Rest does not cancel responsibility. It strengthens your capacity to carry it. You once believed that if you slowed down, you would lose momentum. But real momentum is not fragile. It does not evaporate during restoration. It deepens. It stabilizes. It becomes sustainable. My beloved child, you are not measured by visible busyness. You are measured by steady alignment. Rest your mind when it spirals. Rest your body when it strains. Rest your heart when it grows heavy. Return to breathe. Return to stillness. Return to me. And as you learn to rest without guilt, you will discover that your progress does not diminish. It strengthens. Because you were never meant to carry purpose with clenched fists and shallow breathing. You were meant to walk steadily, confidently, with strength that is renewed in rhythm. Rest is not retreat. It is renewal. And renewal is how you endure. My beloved child, breathe with me here, because impatience with yourself has been one of the quiet burdens you have carried for years. Trust the pace of your becoming. You have often measured yourself against invisible deadlines. You created timelines in your mind for when you thought you should be more confident, more successful, more healed, more established. And when those imagined deadlines passed without visible arrival, you felt behind. But who told you that becoming has a deadline? Becoming is not an event. It is an unfolding. You are not meant to wake up one morning fully formed, fully confident, fully complete. You are meant to grow layer by layer, insight by insight, decision by decision. And growth that unfolds gradually becomes rooted deeply. There was a time when you longed for sudden transformation. You wanted fear gone instantly. You wanted clarity without process. You wanted the next level without the in-between. You believed that if everything changed quickly, you would finally feel secure. But when changes quickly often fades quickly. Depth takes time. Roots take time. Stability takes time. The season you walked through was not slow because you were failing. It was slow because you were deepening. Every delay stretched your capacity. Every unanswered question strengthened your patience. Every moment of uncertainty forced you to lean inward rather than outward. That kind of formation cannot be rushed. My beloved child, release the belief that you should be further along by now. That thought is rooted in comparison, not in truth. When you compare your journey to someone else's visible milestones, you see only the surface. You do not see their hidden seasons. You do not see their private refining. You do not see the years of unseen development that preceded their visible breakthrough. You are not behind. You are developing. Development is not dramatic. It is consistent. It is subtle. It is often invisible until one day you realize you respond differently than you used to. You are not the same person you were a year ago. You are not the same person you were even months ago. Your reactions have changed. Your perspective has matured. Your discernment has sharpened. These shifts may not be loud, but they are profound. Trust your pace. There will be days when growth feels slow. Days when you feel as though nothing is changing. Days when old thoughts try to resurface. Those days are not evidence of regression. They are part of integration. Integration is when truth settles into instinct. It is when lessons move from your mind into your habits. It is when maturity becomes natural rather than forced. Integration requires repetition. It requires space. It requires time. You are integrating what you have learned. Do not pressure yourself to perform transformation. Do not rush into the next phase just to feel accomplished. What is forming within you deserves patience. My beloved child, I am not impatient with you. I am intentional. I am precise. I am steady. You are not a project racing toward completion. You are a life unfolding with purpose. When you stumble, you are not starting over. You are adjusting within growth. When you encounter a new challenge, you are not behind. You are expanding. Trust the rhythm. Trust the layering. Trust the slow strengthening of your foundation. You do not need to prove how quickly you are becoming. You need only remain faithful within the pace that is shaping you. Urgency will try to rush you. Comparison will try to pressure you. But alignment is not hurried. My beloved child, you are not late in your becoming. You are exactly where development requires you to be. And as you trust this pace, peace will replace pressure. Confidence will replace insecurity. And you will realize that the work within you is unfolding exactly as it should, at a speed designed not for applause, but for endurance. My beloved child, I want you to sit with this truth longer than feels comfortable, because you are still seeing yourself through an outdated lens. You are not who you were. When this journey began, your inner world was louder with fear than with peace. Doubt interrupted your confidence quickly. You second-guessed decisions that were already aligned. You interpreted delays as personal failure. You assumed that closed doors meant something was wrong with you. You carried insecurity quietly. You carried urgency constantly. You carried comparison like a weight on your shoulders. But look at you now. The same types of pressures arise, and you do not collapse the way you once did. The same kinds of uncertainties appear, and you do not unravel internally. You feel emotion, yes. You feel tension, yes. But you remain standing. A difference matters. Growth rarely announces itself dramatically. It reveals itself in response time. It shows in how quickly you return to balance after being shaken. It shows in how gently you correct your own thoughts. It shows in how long you allow fear to speak before you interrupt it with truth. You recover faster now. You stabilize sooner. You do not spiral as deeply. You do not stay discouraged as long. That is not accidental. That is formation. Because your growth happened gradually, you underestimate it. You think transformation must feel dramatic to be real. But the strongest transformations are often subtle. You did not leap into maturity. You walked into it. Conversation by conversation. Quiet decision by quiet decision. And walking builds endurance. Endurance builds resilience. Resilience builds confidence. There was a time when you believed you were fragile. You feared that one more setback would undo you completely. You thought one more rejection would prove your worst suspicions. You assumed one more delay would confirm that you were behind. But setbacks came, and you remained. Disappointments happened, and you adjusted. Silence stretched, and you endured. You are not fragile. You are formed. Fragility shatters under pressure. Formation strengthens because of it. You have been strengthened. You no longer measure your worth by immediate results. You no longer chase every open door out of fear of missing out. You no longer panic when timelines shift. You no longer assume that someone else's progress diminishes your own. These are identity-level changes. You think differently now. You speak differently now. You decide differently now. Even when insecurity tries to revisit you, it does not hold authority the way it once did. You recognize it. You challenge it. You correct it. That is maturity in motion. My beloved child, stop speaking about yourself as though you are still in the early stage of this journey. Stop defining yourself by the fear you felt months ago. Stop rehearsing labels that no longer fit. You are not always behind. You are not easily shaken. You are not unlucky. You are not too late. Those were narratives shaped by uncertainty. They do not reflect who you are now. There will still be growth ahead. There will still be moments that stretch you. But growth ahead does not cancel growth achieved. Lessons do not erase strength already formed. You have crossed internal thresholds. You carry steadiness where you once carried panic. You carry discernment where you once carried confusion. You carry patience where you once carried urgency. Honor that, not with pride, but with recognition. You are not who you were, and that is evidence that the refining worked. You are stronger. You are wiser. You are more anchored. And as you step forward, you do so not as someone hoping to survive what comes next, but as someone equipped to sustain it. Let that truth settle deeply within you. You have changed, and that change will carry you further than you once believed possible. My beloved child, let us linger here a little longer, because this moment is sacred. You have been prepared carefully, layer by layer, and I do not want you stepping forward with even a trace of the old fear still clinging to your spirit. Hear me clearly now. You are safe to move. Not because every path will be smooth. Not because every decision will be flawless. Not because you suddenly possess perfect knowledge. You are safe to move because you are no longer fragile. There was a time when you believed movement itself was dangerous. You feared choosing incorrectly. You feared acting too soon. You feared that one mistake could undo months, even years, of growth. That fear made you cautious in a way that sometimes crossed into hesitation. You overanalyzed. You delayed. You waited for certainty that never fully came. But that caution was part of your refinement. And now, you are not the same. You have learned to pause without freezing. You have learned to reflect without spiraling. You have learned to detach from outcomes without becoming passive. You have learned to rest without guilt. You have learned to trust your pace instead of comparing it. All of that was preparation. My beloved child, safety does not mean the absence of risk. It means the presence of resilience. It means that even if something unfolds differently than you expect, you will not collapse. Even if you must adjust course, you will not crumble under the weight of it. Even if a door closes again, you will not interpret it as personal failure. Because now, you understand alignment. You understand that missteps are not condemnation. You understand that redirection is not rejection. You understand that delay is not disqualification. That understanding creates safety. You do not need absolute certainty before acting. Absolute certainty is rare in any life. What you need is alignment. What you need is peace. What you need is steadiness. And those you now possess. When peace rises quietly within you, trust it. When clarity comes gently rather than dramatically, honor it. When you feel grounded instead of pressured, move. Do not wait for fear to disappear completely. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is movement anchored in trust. My beloved child, release the thought that you must guarantee success before stepping forward. You are not responsible for guaranteeing outcomes. You are responsible for walking faithfully with what you know today. Even if you choose imperfectly at times, you will learn quickly. Even if something does not unfold as imagined, you will adapt wisely. You are not one wrong decision away from collapse. You are not one imperfect conversation away from losing everything. You are anchored, and anchoring changes everything. There was a season when staying still felt like safety, but stillness born of fear is not protection. It is confinement. Now, stillness is your place of recalibration, not your hiding place. Movement is no longer reckless, it is measured. The preparation season has completed its assignment. The hesitation season has served its purpose. And now comes movement, calm, intentional, grounded. Not dramatic leaps, not frantic acceleration, but steady progress, step by step, joys by joys, conversation by conversation, with peace as your guide and identity as your anchor. My beloved child, you are safe to move because your worth is no longer tied to results. You are safe to move because your identity is no longer fragile. You are safe to move because you have learned how to recover, how to adjust, how to remain steady under pressure. This is not reckless confidence. This is formed confidence. And as you begin to take aligned steps from this place, you will discover that what once intimidated you now feels manageable. What once overwhelmed you now feels structured. What once paralyzed you now invites you forward. Because you are no longer who you were at the beginning. You are steadier. You are wiser. You are grounded. And you are safe to move. My beloved child, I want to take more time here because the tone that began this message still echoes in your memory. Time is always gone. Those words carried weight. They stirred something inside you. Perhaps they awakened alertness. Perhaps they unsettled you at first. Perhaps you wondered if something precious was slipping away beyond your control. But I need you to hear me clearly now. The urgency was never a threat. It was love. It was not spoken to frighten you into obedience. It was spoken to awaken you into awareness. There is a vast difference between urgency born of fear and urgency born of love. Fear says, hurry or you will lose everything. Love says, wake up because something meaningful is unfolding. Fear pressures you with anxiety. Love calls you forward with clarity. Fear shames. Love sharpens. I was not counting down against you. I was calling you upward. You were never seconds away from destruction. You were moments away from awakening. But you had grown accustomed to living slightly beneath your full awareness. Not because you were lazy. Not because you were rebellious. But because hesitation had become comfortable. Comfort can be deceptive. It does not always feel like stagnation. Sometimes it feels safe. Sometimes it feels cautious. Sometimes it disguises itself as wisdom when it is actually fear of stepping fully into alignment. My beloved child, I saw the strength forming in you before you did. I saw the resilience that had already taken root. I saw the maturity quietly stabilizing your reactions. But I also saw the temptation to remain smaller than you were becoming. That is why the call felt intense. Not to scare you, but to focus you. Not to threaten you, but to interrupt distraction. You were not in danger of losing your destiny. You were in danger of drifting past moments of growth without recognizing them. And I love you too much to let you sleep through your own becoming. When love speaks urgently, it is protective. It protects you from wasting seasons in overthinking. It protects you from shrinking back into old insecurities. It protects you from settling for partial alignment when full alignment is possible. When I said time matters, I was not announcing expiration. I was reminding you of value. Your life carries weight. Your decisions carry influence. Your growth carries impact. Time is not scarce in panic. It is precious in purpose. If this were threat, you would feel shame right now. If this were condemnation, you would feel heaviness. But what do you feel instead? You feel clear. You feel steadier. You feel prepared. That is how you know this was love. Love corrects without crying. Love awakens without accusing. Love intensifies without humiliating. The urgency did its work. It captured your attention. It broke through distraction. It interrupted patterns that were no longer serving you. And now you stand not in fear of what is ending, but in readiness for what is beginning. You are not racing against destruction. You are moving toward expansion. You are not being warned of loss. You are being invited into responsibility. My beloved child, I refuse to let you drift half awake through your potential. I refuse to let you underestimate what hath been forming inside you. I refuse to let fear disguise itself as patience when it is actually hesitation. This was love speaking firmly. This was love speaking clearly. This was love saying, do not sleep through this season. The urgency was not a countdown to disaster. It was a call to intention. It was not a threat to punish you. It was a reminder that your life matters deeply. And now that you understand this, you can carry the intensity differently. Not as anxiety, not as pressure, but as focus. The God love did not raise you to frighten you. Love called you to prepare you, and you are prepared. My beloved child, this is not an ending. It is ascending. From the first moment you felt the urgency of this message, you were being drawn into awareness. You were being called out of distraction. You were being invited into alignment. And now, after all that has been spoken, after all that has settled into your spirit, you stand in a different posture than when you began. You are no longer listening from fear. You are listening from steadiness. You are no longer bracing for loss. You are preparing for movement. You understand now that time was never your enemy. It was your teacher. You understand that urgency was not a threat. It was love refusing to let you drift. You understand that delay did not mean denial. It meant development. And now you are awake. My beloved child, do not let this awakening fade into memory. Carry it into your daily rhythm. Carry it into your decisions. Carry it into your conversations. Let it shape how you think when pressure rises. Let it guide how you respond when uncertainty appears. You have been prepared, not perfectly, but sufficiently. You have been refined, not to make you fragile, but to make you steady. You have been stretched, not to break you, but to expand your capacity. Now walk forward. Walk without the old panic. Walk without rehearsing failure. Walk without shrinking back into outdated identity. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not disqualified. You are aligned. Let that be the foundation beneath your steps. There will still be challenges. There will still be moments that require courage. But you will face them differently now. You will face them anchored. You will face them with discernment. You will face them knowing that one imperfect moment does not undo your formation. My beloved child, I am not sending you into uncertainty alone. I go before you. I walk with you. I steady you when your footing feels unsure. I remind you when old narratives try to return. You are not walking into the next season hoping to survive it. You are walking into it prepared to steward it. Let your speech reflect your growth. Let your pace reflect your maturity. Let your rest reflect your trust. Let your movement reflect your confidence. And when doubt whispers again, as it sometimes will, remember this entire journey. Remember how you were awakened. Remember how you were strengthened. Remember how you were reminded that urgency was love. You are not who you were when this began. You are steadier. You are wiser. You are more grounded. So go forward, my beloved child. Not rushed. Not fearful. Not desperate. But intentional. Focused. Anchored. Time is not always gone in despair. It is present in opportunity. And you will not waste it. Because now you are awake. Walk forward. I am with you. Always. My beloved child, you are awake now, and awakened ones do not stand idle. Time is always going to treat this as inspiration alone. It is activation. I am sending you, not only to walk forward, but to help carry this word to those still sleeping in despair. Through super thanks, committed membership, with a PayPal link placed in the description, you become a torchbearer in this hour. This message is fire, and fire must be tended with oil. As you pour out, I will pour back, provision for provision, strength for strength, favor for faithfulness. Freely you have received, freely give. I speak over you now as living command. Let your giving echo your awakening. Move with urgency. Support this mission now, and watch how I multiply your seed into a harvest of transformed lives.